Ugh.
Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it's so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by now. Here's JP.
All right, welcome into a return edition of the JP Peterson Show. There's look at Tally in the background, settling in there. Yeah, you got your spot. She can't wait. Here comes the show. Good morning to you, Tim Ham. Welcome, you folks out there. I made it back. My voice did not. I think I left it somewhere in a pub in Rathfarnham or someplace. I have no idea.
We know where you left it. We know where you left it.
Yeah, there was a little bit of screaming and yelling going on at the end of the game. I just had a chance to rewatch the end of the game. It was worse than I even saw it live as FSU gets punked in Dublin by Georgia Tech. Anyway, welcome to the show. Tim Ham is here. My computer was acting up this morning. Here we go. But it's football season. It's finally here. The Bucs look great on Friday night. We'll be hitting that as well with Scott Reynolds coming up at 10:30 and TJ Rives at 11:30. We got CeeDee Lamb finally signing his deal. We got the Rays' former superstar, Randy Arozarena, kicking them right in the junk. Thanks for that, Randy. So lots to talk about. Good morning to you, Tim Ham. How are you?
JP, I'm also recovering from a long weekend. Not nearly as adventurous as yours, because I was pretty much following your antics online.
Good.
Kind of pretending like I was there. I even watched the whole freaking game.
You did?
How do you like that?
Wow.
I mean, we're kicking off the college football season. I
How
really
can,
don't
what
care
else you
who's
doing
playing.
on Saturday at noon or what? 1 o'clock for you or 11 o'clock?
I think
for
it
you,
was
whatever.
11. Yeah, I think it was 11 o'clock kick, and I'm like,
An early start for you.
Yeah, I'm like, man, I can't wait just for college football. Like, I would have watched like Rutgers and I don't know, St. John. Does St. John's have a football team? I don't even know.
No, I don't think they do.
But I would have watched anything.
Point taken, yes.
Yeah.
But you got a great game. I mean, that was a great game from a drama standpoint, from a betting standpoint. Well, actually, it was over early with 10.5 point spread to Georgia Tech, which is, I was not betting on FSU. No way. Too many unknowns. But, to get right into it, I really, really thought that FSU, as I said many times on this program, as I said in two pubs in Dublin, that I thought they'd beat them up on both sides of the ball, and it was exactly the opposite. It was exactly the opposite. And as I said on many a tweet, they looked like a team that was playing for something bigger, and we look like a team of mercenaries, and that's exactly what Florida State is. It's all about in all the big programs now. It's all about the NIL. How much money am I making? And the guys are, if you don't think that's a distraction, you're crazy. It's a distraction for all these kids. They're asked to do things to make money, and they love doing it. Why wouldn't they? It's a totally different level of accountability to the coaching staff. Like the dynamic of actually playing on a college football team has so dramatically changed, and the coaches have to deal with this. And I'm not making excuses at all. This is full measure to Georgia Tech. My point being is they played with passion, they played with energy, they played with a purpose. They came there to continue to elevate their program and what they're doing, and they did a great job of it. They really, really did. They blocked and they tackled so much better than FSU. FSU's linebackers are absolutely dreadful. They are linebackers and safeties are dreadful. As I was watching the game back, I thought the defensive line got manhandled, but for the most part, the two defensive tackles were double teamed almost every single play, and they did okay. But it was the outside ends, Marvin Jones Jr., Patrick Payton, and Lundy, and Graham Jr., and Nicholson, and all the linebackers, the safeties took the worst angles I've ever seen in my life. Could not tackle for anything. It was really, really, really bad football. It looked like a bunch of guys that hadn't tackled in about 9 months, and that's about it is because they never tackle in practice. And we heard a little bit about that. Florida State's practices were kind of soft in that way. They didn't tackle anybody to the ground, which is what the pros do, and their tackling was awful. Their run fits were awful. They couldn't get off blocks, and that's full credit to Georgia Tech, man. They blocked and they tackled so well. They really, really did. And when it comes right down to it, that's, we want to talk about all the sugar coating and the jet sweeps and the motions and all this other stuff that's going on. But the team that blocks and tackles the best usually wins the football game. And that was by far Georgia Tech. Their fundamentals were so much better. I thought they executed their offense to perfection. You have an experienced quarterback there like Haynes King. He's not the best thrower of the football, which begs the question. Why did Florida State have 2 deep safeties 12 yards off the ball for 95% of their defensive plays? If you make Haynes King beat you, just like Georgia Tech made DJ Uiagalelei beat them. You got these great corners. Well, let them go man to man. Get your 2, especially when they're running the ball down your throat. You got to get your safeties up in the box to help out in some run support, because your linebackers aren't helping you. Your defensive ends can't set the edge. You got to get an extra guy in the box to do something to slow them down, which they never did. So not only did they get out physicaled, get out tackled and out blocked, but they got out coached tremendously. Got out coached, and the way Mike Norvell handled the last 5 minutes was just awful. I mean, they had the ball for long stretches of time. The FSU offense scored on most of their possessions, but they didn't have the ball many. They had a 7-minute 54-second drive in the first half of 18 plays. I mean, and then you just let them get the ball back with 6 minutes left. I mean, 2 great 4th down calls by Norvell that DJ absolutely actually completed. And you tie the game at 21. You got all the momentum in the world. And there was time and time again when, there's a 3rd and 7 on that next series. And what do? They isolate the running back on Lundy, the linebacker, who's slow as freaking Christmas, out in the flat, easy throw, easy play, and he gets 12 yards. I mean, you get the stop there on 3rd and 7. You got the ball back with 4 minutes to go in a tie football game. That's the play. And then at the end of the game, they fumble the ball, and now it's looking like a 56-yard field goal into the wind. And you allow just a quick throw to the side, and Lundy again, you're one-on-one with the guy on the sidelines right there, and he comes flying in to try to make some, big splash play, knock some guy out, and misses the tackle. All you got to do is break down and force him out of bounds, or force him to stop and do something and let the cavalry arrive. Instead, you come flying in with your hair on fire, Devin White style, and just completely whiff on the tackle. And it's a 12-yard gain, turning a 56-yard field goal into a 44-yard field goal. I mean, that's another huge play. Time and time again, they executed, and Florida State did not. But to let the clock bleed for 5 minutes and not get Georgia Tech's defense was not great. It was okay. It was not great. You get the ball back there in a tie game, you're probably going to win the damn game with a kicker who just made a 60-yard field, 59-yard field goal, and a 52-yard field goal. And his name's Ryan Fitzgerald, for God's sakes. I mean, it was set up perfectly for you, but you just couldn't make the plays. Time and time again, you had no playmakers on defense, none. That's a problem. I don't know how your linebackers get better instincts and better at tackling in a week. I don't know if that happens. That front 7 was absolutely abused. And the safeties took terrible angles. It looked like a really, really poorly coached defensive football team in so many ways. But again, it sounds like I'm not giving Georgia Tech credit, but I would, and I want to, because they were clearly the better football team on the day, no doubt about it. And their crowd was great too. They were outnumbered probably. I'd say there was probably 40,000 Knoll fans to about 12,000 Georgia Tech fans, but their Georgia Tech fans were loud, and they were into the game. So, and it was a great atmosphere, absolutely great atmosphere.
Yeah, and for that to happen, for the Seminole fans to outnumber the Georgia Tech fans that much, and for you to even hear the Georgia Tech fans, that means that Georgia Tech was in the game early. It got the crowd pumped up. It gave them reason to be vocal. If this was a 14 or 17 to nothing lead by Florida State early, or even at half, the Georgia Tech fans would have been out of it, and it would have been nothing. You wouldn't have heard that. But for Georgia Tech to kind of come out and hang early, and much less come back and win the game like that on the last play of the game. And you touched on it earlier, JP, as I was watching this. I was watching the line of scrimmage because all I heard from you, and even from ESPN Game Day before the game, was that how the Florida State offensive line was going to dominate the Georgia Tech defensive line. So I kept looking for that. I never saw that. It was quite the opposite. Georgia Tech dominated the offensive line. They pushed around the Florida State offensive line for sure. I was shocked at the ease at which, and probably because of the way they were handling the safeties, the ease at which Georgia Tech could run the ball. Haynes King had 54 yards rushing in addition to his 146 yards passing. Jamal Haynes had 75 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. 190 yards rushing by Georgia Tech against Florida State. Who would have had that in their notebook ahead of time?
Nope. Not me. I saw Desmond Howard in Temple Bar, and we were chatting a little bit about it, and he's like, yeah, I just think FSU's bigger on both sides of the ball, which they were. He goes, I just think they win the ditch and trenches. And I said, yeah, that's the game. That's how it's played, right? We all know this. And it was exactly the opposite. And it's not because Florida State doesn't have bigger players, but they didn't. I mean, I really got that feeling. There was no emotion on the side of that, very little emotion or passion. Where Georgia Tech was flying around. They had more energy. Now, listen, I don't know. I thought it was odd, really odd, that FSU waited till Thursday. And actually, I don't even know when Georgia Tech got there, to be honest with you. But FSU waited till Thursday to arrive for a Saturday game in a 6-hour or 5-hour time difference. That was weird. Like, I was like, that is weird. Because it takes time for your body to reacclimate after the jet lag. So I thought that was interesting. And also, not for nothing, but the FSU players were out at 10 o'clock at night, Dublin time, the night before the game.
Right.
On the streets. And I don't know what, I don't know if they were, I'm pretty sure they weren't drinking. They were just hanging out.
What time was local kickoff? What time was local kickoff?
Local kickoff was 5 o'clock.
Okay.
So it's not like they had an early, but
right.
You're getting up early anyway to game plan and stuff like that. And I know you're away in Dublin, but that just seems like that's why you get there a day earlier. You can go out on the streets on Thursday night. Friday night, you're in meetings. Like, you're not going outside on Friday night. Thank you, love.
You're welcome.
Nice, thanks. Nice little coffee drop off here by the lovely Ashley. Yes, it is. It is. Cheers, lad. First thing I've drank in a week and a half that didn't have Jameson or something in it.
Good day, mate.
Oh, that Guinness tastes. Oh wait, that's coffee. Same color.
It is.
No, that's I was because I didn't see it, but some friends of mine were like, yeah, they were out last night. So I get a picture. I'm like, really? I mean, is that the reason they lost? I don't know. They didn't play with any energy. They didn't play with any passion. They started with it. Second half, who won the day? Georgia Tech. They're pushed. Haynes King is pushing his running back into the end zone, while FSU is,
watching
for the most part. That's in key possessions and times. Haynes King is pushing the pile while the FSU defense guys are like, when you're just kind of like leaning on the pile, you're not down and pushing. You're just kind of, you see that all over the tape. I mean, FSU has to look themselves in the mirror in a lot of different ways, these players. And, I'm sure, listen, I got caught up in it. I didn't think Norvell would let the players get caught up in it. For fans, we're going to college game day. We're going to boo Herbie. We're still pissed off about it. They didn't seem like a pissed off team at all. They didn't come out and play like they were pissed. No. They came out and played like they thought they were just going to, walk out on the field and win the game. And that's disheartening. That's really, really disheartening. I do not expect that from a Mike Norvell team whatsoever. If they played that fall Feinbaum loop on the way over, it sure didn't act like it, because that team played with very little pride. It played with very little energy. It played with very little purpose. And Georgia Tech played just exactly the opposite. And, I think in the days of NIL, this is a very legitimate question. Are you playing for your school? Are you playing for the passion of the program? Or are you playing for money? And what did that game look like to you?
It looked like they weren't playing for anything to me.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
looked like they didn't want any of it. They didn't want to play for their team, and they didn't care about the money the way most. And I won't say that for everybody. DJ Younga Gunga Bungala, whatever the hell, I could never been able to say his name.
Yes.
Uigalele, I don't know,
Yeah.
whatever. I was not. I mean, look, he didn't have a bad day at all. What was he? 19 of 27, some such. I don't
Yeah.
remember
The
what
numbers
the
don't look
yardage was.
terrible.
He wasn't terrible, but he didn't do enough with his legs, I didn't think, and I didn't know if that was by design. Like, isn't he a running quarterback? Like, that's what he's done, right?
Yeah, but he is not fast, and it takes a while for that train to get going. I don't know. He had that long sleeve on his right leg. I don't know if some people were wondering if he was injured in some way, but it took a while for him to get going. And there was one quarterback power they called on 3rd and 2 in the first half where it was kind of weird because he looked to the left, the running back was on the right, and the running back doesn't block anybody. It looked like a busted play, and he's just running up and that's on a 3rd and 2. It's a crucial call. With the running backs that FSU has, why you're running any quarterback runs if his leg's not good or any at all.
Yeah,
You have too many good running backs to have. And I understand you get the quarterback involved, you get numbers, and he's a big guy. Quarterback power on a 3rd and 2 is not a bad call, but that play was dead on arrival. He's not fast enough to get to the line of scrimmage and get going. And he's dancing in the backfield. If he's going to put that, he's got to put his head down and go. And that's not what he did. So that was the only time he ran. But I'll say this, Mike Norvell, 11 of his first 12 passes were 5 yards or less. Mm-hmm. Mike Norvell was scared shitless of letting him throw the ball downfield. That ought to tell you something. If after a spring and fall of watching your new NIL quarterback come in, and 11 of his first 12 passes are just predetermined 5-yard dumps.
Yeah.
I can do that.
No shots.
You can pay me a hell of a lot less. Yeah. That was, and I'm not saying when he threw the ball downfield, he gave you this great sense of confidence. He doesn't throw a good looking ball. He doesn't practice, man. When he was out there throwing the ball in practice, I'm like, holy crap, a flick of the wrist, man. That thing's on the line. But the game time throws were wobbly. They were inaccurate. They were late. In the second half, he got going a little bit because, Norvell finally let him throw the ball downfield. But listen, if you're not going to let your quarterback throw the ball downfield, go get a new quarterback. I mean, you got 2 guys behind him who are young studs in Brock Glenn and Cromanhook. We're not here for that. We're not here for you got a defense like that. You're going to need to score points. You're going to have to score lots of points if you're going to win football games for FSU this year. And I don't want to make too many absolute predictions or conclusions after one game. That's really not fair. But, from what I saw, there was very little good to talk about. And more, so Norvell didn't let him throw the ball down the field. When he had to throw the ball down the field, he actually did pretty well. He made some big throws on 4th down, started to throw the ball over the middle. So I think Mike handicapped him a big time. But, at the end of the game, Georgia Tech gets the ball, but I think with 5 minutes left, and is driving down the field, running at will. Clearly your defense is tired. They cannot stop them. They get the big, but at 2 minutes left in the game, 2:30 left in the game. They're already in field goal. That's after the 3rd and 7. That's after they're already in field goal. This is before the fumble that knocked them back 12 yards. So they're already in field goal range. So they're not going to run out of time. So, and FSU had 3 timeouts at that point. You got to call a timeout right there at the 2-minute timeout, the next play. That saves you 45 seconds at least. And then after the fumble, you're in really good shape. Not that you have to predict that, but he had to use his timeouts much more quickly. He just let the clock bleed way too much because you needed to get the ball back at the end of the game, and he never did, and just allowed them to bleed the clock. I thought that was very poorly managed by Norvell. And the fact that he didn't let him throw the ball down the field early on. The safeties were way back for FSU, where it's Georgia Tech said, we're not going to let them run down our throat like they did on the first possession. We're getting our safeties and linebackers up involved in this. And FSU just never really got the safeties involved anyway. It was a poorly coached game, poorly called game, poorly executed game. And again, this is all focused on FSU. I got to give Georgia Tech a lot of credit. But listen, Georgia Tech is not Clemson. Georgia Tech is not nearly as talented as Miami. There's some teams on this schedule. They're not as talented as Florida. There's some teams on this schedule that are going to beat you up if you continue to play like that. And so, look, great trip. And I want to spin some stories about that as well. But from a football perspective, you guys have any questions, by the way, jump them in the comment section. Please feel free to jump them in there. We got some already. It was very disappointing. And I really thought FSU was going to win the game. I thought, okay, especially after they score to make it 21-21, it's 5 minutes left. You're going to impose your will on them defensively, especially if all they can do is run the football. Right. You're going to bow up finally and smack somebody in the mouth and get the ball back and win the game on a Ryan Fitzgerald field goal. And it just went exactly the other way. They drove it right down your throat, and poor tackling, poor plays, and kicked the game-winning field goal. And you go home to cry in your beer, but lots of beer. By the way, there was a report out there that they ran out of beer. They never ran out of beer. They had plenty of beer. Oh, I don't want the Irish to be stained like that. They had plenty of beer. The Irish have never run out of beer in 800 years of civilization.
It's a ridiculous notion.
It's a ridiculous notion. That's
like running out of potatoes. Oh wait, that happened.
How do you starve on an island? Don't they have fish?
Right. What are they eating potatoes for anyway? I want to give a little bit of credit here because again, you mentioned it. We're not really giving enough credit to Georgia Tech, but I've been very, and this, anybody that listens to any of my shows, especially my Texas A&M Aggies Daily Blitz, I'm very critical of Haynes King. I don't think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's a good thrower of the ball. It hurts my brain to watch his throwing motion, to watch him throw the ball. That said, and I haven't watched him since he was at A&M. I haven't watched one game since he went to Georgia Tech until Saturday. His throwing motion now is completely different. As bad as it still is, it is completely different from what it was when he was at A&M and when he was recruited as a 4-star by Jimbo Fisher to come to A&M. And it's still terrible. But you know what? I think his quarterback IQ has jumped up exponentially since he arrived at Georgia Tech. Yeah. Whatever the reason, they've worked with him and they saw something because he was good as a 4-star recruit. They have seen something. And I went back and watched some footage, some film from last year too, just to see if it was happening last year. And it was different, like from A&M. Yeah. So they attempted to fix whatever the issue was with his motion that Jimbo, I guess, thought was cute or something. I don't know. But he was horrible at A&M as a passer. Yeah. He was supposed to be,
and he didn't make any great throws down the field that I remember. But they were the short throws were spot on. They were quick. Even and that was something that was not good for FSU. DJ had a couple of short throws that were easy throws that were, if you hit the little running back in stride out in front and he doesn't have to turn his body back and then, he's down the sideline for a touchdown. It doesn't sound like much. And that was when the Cam shot in the first half, he's out in the flat and the ball, and he has to turn around and face the quarterback because it was a little behind him. He's running this way towards the sideline. If you throw it out front, if you lead him out front and he catches it out front, then he just goes up the sideline because the linebacker's trailing from the inside. When he has to turn his whole body this way, and it would have hit him in the face mask. It looked like a pure drop on his ball, and it was a drop. He should have caught the ball. But if you throw it out front in stride, he's moving down the sideline. Even then, when he has to turn, the linebacker is going to hit him and take him down. So, and there was another toss to Teofili over the middle that was behind him that he kind of grabbed and still took in stride. It was a great catch and go. But there's too many easy throws where he could have really helped his back, and he did not. Yeah. So I didn't think DJ played horrible, or even bad. I thought he played okay. He was okay. But there were other things that were not okay.
And against a lesser opponent, Florida State wins that game. Those throws don't cost you, but those throws, when you miss like that, even if it's a little missed, the Warrior receiver has to turn his body a little bit. Yep. That takes away from his momentum for yards after the catch.
Right.
And that could cost you 15, 20 yards on any given play.
The difference between a big play and a nothing play.
Yeah, and against a lesser team, that's okay.
Yeah, and against a short throwing situation like there where you don't have pressure, you got to make that throw, man. You got to make a throw. It has to be perfect. It can't be an average throw. It's got to be perfect right out in front. It's not hard. Lead him and let him run. But all those execution points, Haynes King did that great. He was right on time with his short throws, and the running backs were caught the ball in a position to run where they could get their head upfield and look and avoid. Whereas the FSU receivers are having to, come back to the ball, adjust to the ball. That's the difference. And they really, Georgia Tech played almost a perfect football game in every way in terms of executing their plays, and FSU was anything but. Quick story though. If this doesn't encapsulate the Irish, I don't know what does. So my kids were down in the first level, and we were up at a third level in the club level. And so I was trying to, I was like, hey, I'll come down and say hi. We'll take a couple pictures, have a Guinness or two, watch a little bit of the game. And so you couldn't get from like level to level. Right. You couldn't get from level to level. It was like you had to go outside the stadium and they don't let you back in. It's kind of weird. So I went up to an usher and I was like, hey, I'm trying to get down to the first level. And he's like, oh, it's just, you can't do that. You have to go out. And sorry, that's just the way the stadium's built. Blah, 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 blah. I was like, oh, man, my kids are down there. I haven't seen them, blah, blah, blah. We came from, I give him the old sob story. And he's like, right, here, let me help you out, lad. So he literally ushered me down, through the security doors downstairs, allowed me to take, spend a little bit of time with the kids and then brought me back up. Never seen the guy before in my life. I mean, I just don't think that's happening in a stadium in the United States. Yeah, I don't know, but the hospitality over there was just absolutely amazing. Everybody you run into, every bartender, every waitress, every waiter, cabbies were fantastic. We actually recorded a couple of the cabbie conversations that I'm going to send to you. See if you can clean them up for audio wise in terms of the background noise. But they're just hilarious. They're just hilarious, and everyone you meet, and that just makes this is why Ireland is so awesome, because everywhere you go, you meet these people and they treat you like your family. It's such a great place, and I highly recommend anybody, if you have not been, just go. The scenery is incredible. The people are amazing. The pubs are fun. The traditional music of the Irish music, and it's just an incredible vibe. It's an incredible vibe of wonderful people. It's got everything you could ever want. It's got high-end shopping. It's got great food. It's got great restaurants. It's got history, scenery, everything. It's what vacation should be. So
I was reposting some of your stuff that you were over there, and kind of commenting on the game and everything. And I sent pictures, or reposted pictures, I guess, on Facebook of you inside the bar. What was the name of the bar you were at? The
Fitzsimon's bar. Yes.
And so I have this girl that I occasionally speak with who lives in Tulsa, takes an annual trip over there, like by herself. Like that's her favorite place on earth is Dublin and Ireland. She's like, I quit asking friends to go with me because nobody wants to go. I go by myself every year. And
why does nobody want to go?
I don't know. I don't want to go to Europe ever, or overseas, or I have no reason to leave the United States except to go home to Canada. But I would go to Dublin.
Why do you think that? There's so many beautiful places in this world.
I'm out.
Why?
I don't have the desire.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind going to Greece or maybe Paris once, but you'd have to convince me, and somebody's gonna have to pay for it because I'm not paying for that myself. I don't even want to go to Hawaii. Johnny keeps trying to get me to go to Mexico to play golf. I'm like, there's golf here. Why do you have to go to Mexico to play golf? That makes no sense to me.
It's different.
I don't know why the PGA Tour has to leave the United States to play golf. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Well, if you ever played Old Head in Kinsale, you'd know why. It's way different, bro. It's way different.
I get it.
Every hole, there's a 40-foot, 50-foot sheer cliff down to the ocean.
Sure.
Don't hit it left. You won't be able to find that one, laddie.
See it now. You're not making the compelling argument I think you are, because it sounds like I could die.
It's not. Well, if you're dumb enough to go after your ball, you could die.
Who are you talking to here? Okay.
If you're stupid enough to do that, yeah.
So anyway, the girl I was talking to, she was noticing the bar you were in, and she texted me. She's like, "Oh my God, I've been thrown out of that bar at least 10 times."
Wow. You got to do something special to get thrown out of an Irish bar.
And she's an angry redhead who's part Irish, right? So she probably might have something to do with it. I don't know. Yeah,
I could see that then. It just, and just this the way we pulled off that show on on Friday.
That was fun, by the way.
Yeah, I was texting with I talked to the day before. We did the one with William Floyd, and they were supposed to have Wi-Fi set up there, and they were actually, that was a brand new level of the bar, so the Wi-Fi wasn't set up yet, so we had to do it by the phone. But it worked, and we got William on. It was great. We did that. But it wasn't the atmosphere we were quite looking for. And then on Friday, she said she was going to set apart a place for us, and we had a bunch of people coming over, and we miscommunicated, and for some reason with traffic, we were late, blah 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 blah. But when we got there, she finally said, "Well, let's go up to the roof and see if we can do something." Should we go up there? And all the tables were full.
Yeah.
And she just goes up to this guy and says, it was a good vantage point. Says, and starts negotiating with him something about free drinks, I'm sure. And he, just moved over to another table. She set us up, and we got the phone going, and away we went. It worked out fantastic, and everybody showed up. Yeah. Yeah. I hope it, and I was trying to give people a feel of like what it was like to be over there. So I was, doing a lot of videos. Trust me, folks, if I didn't, if we weren't doing a show here, I would just be amongst my friends and having a good time. But I'm trying to share it with the people that watch and listen to the show. So that's why we do all that stuff. And it's not for my personal edification, I can assure you. I would much rather just put the phone away and drink with my friends.
Although we did confirm the thought that we've had for years that everywhere you go, you can run into a JP Peterson fan. Doesn't matter where you are.
That was bizarre. So we sit down. So we get the table was picked by Romy from Fitzsimon's Bar. We love you, Romy. Thank you for hooking us up. So this guy behind me, and yeah, he's there for the FSU game. I get that. But he's sitting there with his lovely wife, and he's like, "Hey, JP, I've never met. Well, I may have met him back in the '90s. So when he played for FSU's baseball team,
right?
I think I may have interviewed him once or twice." And he's like, "JP, how are you?" He goes, "Yeah, watch the show every day." I'm like, "Well, we're doing the show right now. You want to come on?"
That was
so
really
we did
cool.
A little interview with him. Yeah, how about that? And there were a lot. We got stopped on the street a lot over there. There's people I've known for a long time, and people just watch the show and ask me where are you doing the show from, and some that wanted me to do a show on Saturday. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing a show.
Ain't happening yet.
I'll do some live stuff from game day or some stories, which we did. So I hope you saw the video of us walking in game day, and Herbie was on the pre-show on SportsCenter beforehand. So every time he came up, he was just booed unmercifully, which was fun. I thought it was great, and there was nobody getting out of hand. There was nobody. No stupid, really, really, really stupid stuff. Although they were checking for signs, like they were making sure that there were no really, really bad signs. And for what I see from the broadcast, they didn't show many signs like they normally do. So a little different setup.
It's probably by design, though.
I would think, yeah, it was a little different.
They mentioned it on the air, like towards the end of the game day broadcast. Somebody might have been Pat McAfee that said something to Kirk about like how tame the Florida State fans have been since they've been there, how non-aggressive they've been towards Kirk since they've been there. Like he commented on it.
Well, they booed him a lot,
right? Well, but they expected that, I'm sure. But
the other part
McAfee
was
probably thought more.
Yeah. There was. I was watching a little bit of the replay of when they were doing their picks, but their setup was 25-minute walk from the stadium. So for the whole last hour and a half of the show, there was nobody there. Everybody walked to the stadium.
Yeah.
So I think that was a missed opportunity. They should have done it down by the stadium. And I know they wanted to kind of have the city center feel to it, but there was, you could have done the stadium in the background and it got shots from the city center. I think that was a little bit of a miss because it seemed like there was really no live atmosphere for the last hour of the show. When if had it been at the stadium, that they'd have been giving it to them. I think so. That might have been a bit of a mess. You guys who watched the whole thing could probably comment on that better than I, but it just seemed like it was kind of flat, totally flat. So
that's insane. Florida State now, though, JP, after going 13-0 last season, you lose the bowl game, which without your quarterback, it's understandable.
Without our quarterback,
yeah.
What was that? All we're missing?
No, without a bunch of guys.
Without their whole freaking starting team.
Right. But you lose that. Now you've lost the first game this year on a 2-game losing streak after winning 13 in a row.
A 1-game losing streak.
Well, it's 2
that
games.
Orange
if you
Bowl
count
did
the bowl
not happen.
Game.
It didn't.
Look, I'm not. Look, I agree.
No,
I'm pulling for
it's
Florida
just,
State this year.
it doesn't listen. We're not going to get into it, but it
I
doesn't
get it.
count. It's just like ridiculous to even
I
talk
get it.
about it.
I
That
get
like
it.
it actually happened. Anybody, some idiot trying to argue about this with me before the game. Some Georgia Tech fan. Oh, you got your ass kicked by Georgia. I'm like, if you talk about that game,
It was a scab team.
and you know zero about football. If you're trying to make
Yeah.
some type of football argument about that game,
Right.
you really know nothing about football. I mean, you just don't. That's not, everybody knows that 90% of their team, their starters did not play against a team that played all their starters and was pissed off for being left out of the
Yeah.
playoff and was probably one of the top 4 teams in the nation anyway. I mean, duh.
It's like
What'd you think
talking
was gonna
about
happen?
it's like talking about your favorite NFL team in the 82 or 87
Right.
season when they had replacement scab players for
Right, exactly. And trying to make some type of historical football judgment about it as if it's no. I saw this. Oh, they've lost their last champ by a combined score of. I mean,
it's just silly.
and
Have you changed your outlook?
I'm
though?
trying not to be an FSU. I mean, come on, that's just objectively.
Yeah.
Anybody who
I
knows
agree.
anything about football is going to say that it has no meaning whatsoever. None.
Have you changed
So-
your outlook though on the season for FSU?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I
You
thought
have
this
to,
was
right?
a playoff team. I thought they could win the ACC and be a playoff team. Now it looks more like a 4 or 5 loss team to me because maybe not 5, but look, I don't see their linebackers getting dramatically better, and the tape is out. I mean, this is how you attack FSU. Their safeties and their linebackers are dreadful. Now, hopefully, the defensive coordinator can make some adjustments to where they'll be better. They'll be better, but they were exposed in a lot of different ways. It's a great coaching job by Georgia Tech that they exposed their weaknesses. We're going after their linebackers and we're going after their defensive ends and their safeties. And they did a great job of it. They really, really did. But yeah, they've been exposed. And their offensive line, what I thought was going to really dominate the game in the run game, they got tired or they're not that good. And they weren't, Robert Scott, the offensive tackle, was beaten like a drum. The offensive line didn't impress me at all. And DJ did not impress me at all. So, the quarterback's not great. The offensive line looks a little average. The defense is terrible. I mean, what do you want me to say? And listen, and that's football year to year. Yeah, was I optimistic that they would? Yeah, I was. But I also said many, many times these are unknowns. We're not going to know it until we see it. And that's what it is in college football. You can have all the stars you want, it's 5 stars and 4 stars and all this stuff you want. But if they haven't done it, then they haven't done it. We haven't seen it. And I said that last week, as confident as I was. I said, but these are still all unknowns. And now we know. It's not to say they can't get better. They can get better. They can get better. They'll be better coached. They can hide some of their deficiencies, and there's probably personnel that they thought were better than they are, So there's a reason Marvin Jones Jr. wasn't starting at Georgia. Not to say he's not going to get better, but he did nothing in that game that impressed me whatsoever. And Patrick Payton missed some opportunities to make plays and some big plays. And he just didn't, which really surprised me because he's done it before. Lundy was an okay linebacker last year. He was dreadful in this game. Absolutely dreadful. Nicholson only got 17 snaps, according to James, I think, who said that here. He needs to get more playing time, but even in the 17, he showed me, but he probably needs to play more because the other ones are really bad. What did James say? Heard also FSU doesn't really give a spit about recruiting linebackers. It showed. Omar Graham, 38 snaps, 0 tackles. Yeah, he was awful. Blake Nicholson gets only 17 snaps. Probably needs more. Lundy can't cover me. That's true. What a sad linebacker room. They're bad. Patrick Burnham kind of warned us about that the other day. And he just said that he has some question marks about the linebackers. And the safeties, boy, they played really poorly. But then again, it's hard to get involved in the run game when you're 20 yards off the ball. Most snaps. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, I get that.
Some other thoughts here. Actually, let's go ahead and take a break, and I'm going to get to comments here. Lots of great comments. Let's take a quick break. We got Bucs talk to get to. Oh God, we went way over. We're supposed to get Scott Reynolds on at 10:30. My total bad. Let's get to Scott Reynolds when we come back, and then we'll get to the comments. Stay with us. Quick break here. Celebrate August with the dazzling green hue of peridot, known for its vibrant and refreshing sparkle. Yes, that's the birthstone of August at the Gold and Diamond Source. Explore the Gold and Diamond Source's stunning collection of peridot jewelry, showcasing the gemstone's unique glow and versatility in rings, necklaces, and earrings. Peridot's distinctive color makes it a standout choice for any occasion, adding a touch of elegance and charm to your ensemble. Enjoy 15% off when you shop August Gems online only. Stop by the Gold and Diamond Source to experience the allure of August Gem and let their expert staff help you find the perfect peridot piece. It's the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Olmsted Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. Hey, it's football season, so we welcome back the FSU Football Report every Monday and Friday on the JP Peterson Show, sponsored by those huge FSU fans at Italiano Insurance. Folks, they've been 60 years, named the Small Business of the Year Chamber of Commerce, mostly because of their incredible customer service. So they'll save you money as well. Just do a quick insurance checkup, 813-877-7799. They just saved me $500 on homeowners insurance. Who's doing that? Yeah, they just shopped it around, found a better, cheaper company, and we got a cheaper price. And business insurance, make sure you're covered or you could lose your personal wealth. That's 813-877-7799, ItalianoInsurance.com. Go Noles.
Hey Tampa Bay sports fans, this is two-time LPGA major champion Jane Geddes here. After winning the U.S. Open and 10 other LPGA events, I wanted to try something completely different. So I came right off the top turnbuckle and landed in the crazy world of WWE. And yes, you heard that right, that's WWE. Working for the Vince McMahon as the VP of Talent Relations for the company. Now, though, I want to work for you. Everything I've done in my life, I've done with incredible passion. And now I've turned my focus to leading the best real estate team in Tampa Bay, the Geddes Gordon Group with Keller Williams in South Tampa. If you're looking for a new home, an investment property, or looking to sell your current home, we will give you major championship level service. When you choose Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of our inner circle, like family. So if you're looking for a few golf tips or a golf course view, we're going to stripe it right down the fairway. Call me at 813-485-6808 or go to gettysgordongroup.com, or again, give me a ring at 813-485-6808.
JP here for Third Generation AC and Plumbing. And Third Generation really says it all, folks. The owner, my friend John Rodriguez, has been in the AC and plumbing business since 1995. They built their business on honest assessments and doing great work on time for a great price. Simple, right? Did you know many AC techs are incentivized on big commissions to sell new AC units and you might just need a drain cleared? So if you want someone you can trust, that's John Rodriguez and Third Generation Services. Check out the 5-star Google reviews. If you have a plumbing or AC emergency, call 813-961-8024 and a human will answer the phone. That's 813-961-8024 or go to thirdgenerationplumbing.com.
Ciao, Paolo Tini here, owner of Caffè Paradiso, one of South Tampa premier traditional Italian restaurant. We were recently voted number 3 on Open Table list of Tampa Bay's top 10 restaurants. We're very proud of that because we take great care of preparing each dish by hand with homemade sauces, pastas, only the freshest local ingredients. You won't see the big institutional vendor trucks pulling up to our back door. We get our seafood from local vendors. Sometimes I even drive out to Topper Springs and pick out our daily catch right off those boats. So stop by and say hello. Try our traditional lasagna, the fresh veal, some of our signature dishes like capelli al granchio, that is angel hair with lump crab meat, our branzino, that is a sea bass. We're located at 4205 South McDill, and you can make a reservation on Open Table and read all the great reviews. See you soon. Ciao. Grazie.
Let's go! Right now. Back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back. My eternal apologies to my next guest, Scott Reynolds. Scotty, I apologize. My passion for my football team at Florida State got the best of me, and we ran on a little bit in the first.
Scott, I didn't know what time you were coming on, or I'd have made him stop. I had no idea.
What happened with the FSU game? I didn't hear about that. Can you recap that? Sorry.
It was our first 40.
That was a bit of a sting, wasn't it, JP?
It was.
See what I did there?
It was, yes. No, nicely done. Nicely
That's
done.
all right. No worries.
The Jackets did put it on us, but I apologize for.
No worries. You know, it's crazy because I mean, we see some upsets in week one, not just
Yeah.
in the NFL, right, but also in college football because it's just the unknown. And I think that's the beauty of college football is we have these polls and it's just for fans. I mean, they're worthless, right?
Meaningless.
Because we don't know how good or bad teams are at the beginning of the season. We think we do, but we don't know. That's why you see, you know, a Montana State, which is an FCS school, beat New Mexico. Not that New Mexico is, or maybe it's New Mexico State. Not that that's a powerhouse team in the FC and the FBS, but we see some of these upsets because early in the season we just don't know how good or bad these teams are. Like I was crushed when Tulane came in to Manhattan and beat Kansas State a couple years ago, right? And I'm thinking, how the hell do we lose to Tulane? Well, Tulane ended up being a top 10 team that year, and
That's right.
They came back to beat USC in I want to say it was the Cotton Bowl. Michael Pratt outdueled Caleb Williams and won that game. And so you don't know how the season's going to turn out for some of these teams. And I, you know, as much as I like the preseason polls and sit there and say, oh, wow, K-State's in the top 20. It's like, I have no idea how good or bad the Cats are going to be this year. I almost want to see us wait for 4 weeks and then come out with polls.
That's why they do they do that with the playoff.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Yeah, because you're putting teams in there early that you really have no idea what they have, and FSU is a perfect example of that because you know, and the what we were talking about a lot is in the last few days is can this be fixed? And the answer is listen. I think Mike Norvell is a tremendous coach and he'll fix it, but there's a lot of the things I think are fatal flaws. The linebackers are just bad. And the safeties are just bad.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of good players there, but they have weak points, and you know, you don't suddenly develop great tackling skills and speed, you know, from a linebacker, you know, just because it's week 2. It doesn't happen.
No, you're right, and I think in college programs they're taking more of that NFL model. Let's get everybody ready for the start of the season. You don't see these take them to the ground, tackling practices and stuff, because you want your stars available right for the regular season, but at what cost, right? You're not getting your team prepared by doing the patty cake and the 2-hand touch, you know, wrap ups on defense in practice. I get it. It's a different era of football than you and I grew up with, guys. And it's just different. And we see it at the college level, and I think it impacts teams like Florida State, like you mentioned, and we see it on the pro level too. Tampa Bay it's been this way for probably a decade now, but you have to go back to Raheem Morris and then before that John Gruden to where you had really physical training camps. And so I think that's, you know, that's you know
where we are, but which is where we are. Transition to the Bucs, because you know I was saying this last week. I really wanted to see the starters play, and I think they did themselves a great service by doing so, especially the offense that just looks so absolutely crisp. Even defensively for a couple series, they were knocking people around. I think they go into the season now with much more confidence.
Sure.
And for the coaching staff, they have a better feeling for who can and cannot play of some of those fringe players.
No, I think you're right. And one thing I'll point out is we had John Spytek, assistant general manager for the Bucs, on our Pewter Report podcast last week before the final preseason game. And he said, you know, building a 53-man roster, and this applies to schools like Florida State and Kansas State as well. It's not about a collection of talent. It just isn't. It's about finding the right 53 guys, not necessarily the best 53 guys, but the right 53 guys. And you can have a team, and that's why a team like Tulane that had maybe 4 guys drafted from that team. I mean, even Michael Pratt was the quarterback of that Tulane team that you know, went to the top 10. And like I said, he outdueled Caleb Williams, who's the number 1 overall pick. Michael Pratt was a 7th round pick this year for the Green Bay Packers. He's not a great NFL quarterback by any means, but it's the team. It's building a team, not having the 5 stars and the 4 stars and all these collections of talent. They have to come together. And I think that's what the Buccaneers have done and you look at some of these roster cuts. Should Cody Thompson have made this team? Yes, he should have. But at what expense? I mean, he would have been wide receiver number 6.
Right.
And how often Are you going to get to the sixth guy on your depth chart? Are you going to play him over Mike Evans or Chris Godwin or Jalen McMillan? Hell no, right? So are we going to fret over Cody Thompson, wide receiver 6, not making this team? He's waiting on the practice squad, just like he'd be waiting on the roster at spot number 53. But the problem is he's not the special teamer that O'Keefe is. He's not the special teamer that Josh Hayes is. He's not the special teamer that Marquise Watts or J.J. Russell are. So that's where you have to kind of trust the coaches and the personnel guys, because the last 6 spots on the depth chart, 53, 52, 51, 50, 49, and 48, those are guys that may not be the best corner, tight end, wide receiver, linebacker, but they're better on special teams. And so, as Todd Bowles said last week before the roster cuts were made, it's not necessarily about Cody competing with Cameron Johnson and Ryan Miller and stuff. He's competing against O'Keefe and Josh Hayes and these other guys for those special team spots. So I didn't have any problem with the way the Bucs assembled their roster. I think they got it right. I want to say I probably missed 4 guys in my final 53-man roster prediction. So I wasn't surprised that all the Tampa Bay finalized their roster last night, because it kind of all makes sense.
You want to hear a shocking – well, it was shocking when I read it, but Scott, you probably already know this. JP, you might already know this. I think it was Greg Allman that posted on Twitter or on X, 44 of the final 53 were either drafted by the Bucs or were signed as undrafted free agents by the Bucs.
Yeah, these guys know what they're doing. I mean, we've lauded the Bucs for their drafts the last couple of years. I think you and I, the three of us, we talked about this before camp started, that there's going to be 4 starters from this year's draft class. And that's crazy for a team that won 10 games last year and got to the second round of the playoffs and won a division title for the 3rd straight time. To have, and really you can't even say holes necessarily, but to have the spots for 4 guys in a draft class to come in and be starters, like, that's a little crazy, because the Bucs were good last year, and this should make them even better, because these draft picks represent upgrades. Tyke Smith, 3rd round pick, is going to be an upgrade in the slot. Jalen McMillan is going to be an upgrade over Trey Palmer at wide receiver 3. That's a starting position, because the Bucs will be in 3 receiver sets most of the time. Then you look at the 2nd round pick. Chris Braswell got better as the preseason came along and had a sack in that game, which we wanted to see. He's great at setting the edge and run defense. I think he's on that Yaya Diaby train where he'll be probably a starter by midseason. And then, of course, Graham Barton. I mean, no surprise, he was the starting center. So, to have 4 guys, and you're going to see a lot of Bucky Irving, too. That's almost like a quasi-5th. That just speaks to how good these guys draft. And sooner or later, the NFL is going to wise up, and they're going to take John Spytek and make him a GM. They're going to take Mike Beal, who has been at the heart of these drafts as the pro personnel director, but before that, the college football scouting director. He's going to be a GM. At some point in time, the NFL is going to say, what are they doing down there in Tampa? And they're going to finally raid this front office. But until they do, you're going to see the continuity continue to crank out awesome draft after awesome draft and find some undrafted free agent gems like Cameron Johnson this year.
You know, and that number could have easily been 43 of 53. But you were smart enough to go back and get Jordan Whitehead back, so I'm sure that counts as one of your starters that you drafted. Even though you let him go, you were smart enough to go get him and bring him back. So,
for sure.
Kudos to the whole staff there.
Yeah. They know what they're doing. And I tell you look at the Baltimore Ravens, who are probably the most consistent team in the NFL, like dating back from just when John Harbaugh
including the coach
over.
position,
Yeah, it just – the Ravens can look at players in college and just instantly see whether it's cornerback, linebacker, receiver, running back, offensive lineman, whatever position, and say he's a Raven or he's not a Raven, because those philosophies, those systems have been in place since Harbaugh took over. And that's the same thing. Todd Bowles has been here with this defensive scheme since 2019. It's no surprise. And that's why we nail so many Bucs best bets, because like Tyke Smith, he's a Todd Bowles defensive back, right? Like Graham Barton, he is a Jason Light type of offensive lineman, right? So as much as the scouts and the coaches can watch film on these college players and quickly determine that, we're getting pretty close to doing the same thing at Pewter Report, because we have both of our eyes on the draft all year round,
all the time.
and it's kind of fun to see this team hit on so many players, because they're drafting guys that are going to come in and be flawless fits.
So you want to hear an interesting tidbit here about the Ravens, but just an example of how an entire franchise's fortunes can change on the decision of one person. Do you remember who turned down the head coaching job before it was offered to Harbaugh back in 2008?
I don't.
That would be Cowboys offensive coordinator Jason Garrett.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Who turned down the head coaching job at Baltimore to stay in Dallas because he was promised by Jerry,
right?
Well, you're the next man up here in Dallas.
Wow.
Good morning to you. And that's when
crazy.
He stabbed Wade Phillips in the back, and he got his job. And
that's
there you
wild.
go.
You know what? And you can also say the same thing about Jacksonville. Much better off with Doug Peterson than Byron Leftwich, right? I mean, with Byron Leftwich, he tried to create a coup of Trent Baalke and say, well, I'll come and be the head coach, but I want my own general manager. And thankfully, Jacksonville's ownership said, no, we're going to go with Doug Peterson instead. I mean, Byron Leftwich can't even get a job in college or the NFL.
How about that?
So, I mean, just you talk about like averting disaster. Wow. That's crazy.
Well, or Urban Meyer, if you want to go back that far.
I think he and Devin White have the same psychotherapist. Successfully completed the illusions of grandeur between the two of them. Like, know your worth, have some self-awareness, and don't turn down head coaching jobs just because Tom Brady got you a Super Bowl.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
This just in. So you mentioned Cam Johnson, which I think, I mean, if there's maybe one surprise on the roster, it might be him. For those who maybe not be paying attention, but he didn't. He got injured, and it didn't really show a lot until the last game, and that wasn't even against real starters. So I think it just goes to show you that sometimes guys show up and they show some things in practice. That maybe a lot of the world doesn't see.
He's a pretty electric dude. Yeah.
And we all said when you first saw him, it was like, whoa, he moves a little bit different. I keep saying, probably because he wears number 9. I think he moves a lot like Peter Warrick. He really does. He's just got that same type of change of direction and smoothness and speed and explosion.
Yeah.
Not the Bengals.
Right. Yeah.
Peter Warrick.
Yeah. And I mean, to keep it Buccaneer related, I mean, I think the Bucs haven't had this type of player since Antonio Brown. And I'm not saying he's the next Antonio Brown, but he has that trait, those traits and that skill set, right? That the quick instant acceleration, maybe not the deep speed, right? But the ability to win off the line of scrimmage and create instant separation. It's like when he snaps off a route, he creates more separation than anybody at wide receiver here. And he does a good job of catching the ball too. So he's that type of player that he's going to force his way on the field. He's going to be the end around guy. He's going to be getting some gimmick wide receiver screens. He might replace Trey Palmer when they need a decoy, to hit the go route. He's going to be that guy. And at a wide receiver 5, he's going to get some playing time. A guy like Cody Thompson, wide receiver 6, probably wouldn't, but at 5, he's going to see the field. He can also do kick returns as well. So he brings some versatility on special teams there. But yeah, he's a pretty electric player, and I'm excited to see what he can do in Liam Cohen's offense. And we've already seen some of the end arounds, and I think that he's going to be a good fit here.
Going back to the game against the Dolphins Friday night, Scott, did Kyle Trask, you think, put anybody's minds at ease about the number 2 quarterback job?
Yeah. I mean, he put the exclamation point, not the period, the exclamation point on this preseason, because I saw the 2 things I really wanted to see. No turnover-worthy plays that I can remember, right? He had a couple in Cincinnati. He had the interception. Then he had an interception that was dropped. He had to come in late off the bench after John Wolford was out. Yeah. And of course, they needed a touchdown, so he was going to force some things. But, he had 2 potential interceptions there that were dropped. So I didn't see any turnover-worthy plays against the Dolphins. That was good to see. Then more importantly, he picked up where he left off in Jacksonville and was aggressive in the red zone, right? He threw the ball into the end zone, didn't play it safe, wasn't conservative, made good decisions, great fade passes to Ryan Miller and Tanner Canoe for some touchdowns. And yeah, I liked what I saw. 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. It really was his best preseason so far. And, the arrow might be pointing up for this guy. And Todd Bowles loves him. Jason Light, I think, likes him. So he has a chance of sticking and being a long-term part of this team. I don't think he's done enough to go anywhere. You're not going to have any team beating out down the door for him in free agency next year. He hasn't played in the regular season. So it's kind of like, the devil that you know is better than the devil you don't. That's kind of how the NFL operates. That's why you see a lot of guys bring their own players back on practice squads because we know these guys. They know our system. We don't have to get somebody up to speed from outside of an organization. And I think Kyle Trask has done enough to really become a backup. I'm not saying the number 2 guy, but a backup. I think that the Bucs will still look at drafting another quarterback next year, maybe, and bringing some competition in for Trask and seeing how it shakes out.
Would agree with that. Any surprise on guys that they let go? That kind of, I mean, a lot of these guys are going to the practice squad, so it's not like they're. And I don't think there's anybody on that list that people are going to come pick up for their active roster.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, like for example, I'll just use this as an example. Like J.J. Russell, he's making the team over a guy that really flashed and splashed in Antonio Greer, former USF player, played at Arkansas last year. And, he had the interception in the game. He had a scoop and score that was called back because it was ruled it was an incomplete pass. And so you like Greer's potential. He led the team in tackles in the preseason. Vi Jones also kind of flashed and showed. I think both of those guys might be back. But you got to remember, J.J. Russell was on this practice squad for a couple of years. Then he got called up and had to play and start and played well against the Panthers. Had, I think, 7 tackles and a sack of Bryce Young. So having said that, those linebackers might be on the J.J. Russell train, which means develop on the practice squad, and make the coaches trust you, learn the defense, etc. That's where J.J. Russell has the experience and advantage over guys like Antonio Greer, Kalen DeLoach, who that groin injury hurt him a little bit, and also Vi Jones. Is he knows this defense? He's been here in the system. So for me, it's not always about the talent. It's about what you bring to the table. Do you know the defense? Brandon Walton's a prime example.
Yeah.
I think Luke Haggard probably had a better camp and a better preseason. The coaches trust Brandon Walton because he's played in games.
Yeah.
Right. And he's got some position flexibility. He can play left tackle and right tackle and guard. Do you want him out there on the field? No, he's literally offensive lineman number 9 on the depth chart.
Yes. Yeah.
But if you had to play him, he brings some more position flexibility than Luke Haggard can, because Haggard can play guard and right tackle only.
Mm-hmm.
Justin School is going to be the first tackle off the bench, so hopefully you don't see Brandon Walton at all this year.
Right.
But if he has to play, he can play 4 positions where Haggard can play 3. He has some NFL experience. He played it almost the entire game against the Saints a couple years ago at left tackle and survived. Mm-hmm. And Haggard's a bit of an unknown. So no one's going to be knocking down the door for Haggard probably. So you stash him on the practice squad, let him develop like you did with Walton. And I think the Bucs coaches do a good job of developing talent. And you see some of these guys matriculate from the practice squad to the active roster. And J.J. Russell is the latest example of that. And also Jose Ramirez, prime example of that too.
Yeah. All right, last question for you. As it's all done now, right? The preseason is over. Now it's time to look ahead to Washington. The roster is set. I think my overall take is, boy, hell of a draft. They all made the team.
Yeah,
they're all going to contribute. That rarely happens, if ever, especially on a playoff team.
Right.
A multi-year playoff team. So that speaks even more highly of your draft. The last 2 drafts have been fantastic.
Yeah.
The continuity on this team is great. I think the coaching staff is very confident. Listen, are they a 15-win team? No. Are they a 12-win team? Probably not. Are they a 10-win team? I think they are.
Yeah.
I'm pretty solid in feeling that this is going to be a really decent football team if they don't get injuries at key positions. You can say that about anybody. But I like where the Bucs are right now. I think they've plugged all the holes that they needed to plug in the offseason. It's as good an offseason as I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Certainly the Bucs, maybe any team, just in terms of the continuity. I like what I've seen, and I think the Bucs. And if you're a Buck fan, you got to be thrilled. with this preseason.
Yeah, I agree. There's 11 games, including some repeat performances against the Falcons, Saints, and Panthers, right? There's 11 games against teams that have not made the playoffs, that didn't make the playoffs last year, right? And I'll run these down real quick. Washington, Denver, Atlanta twice, the Saints twice, the Giants, the Raiders, the Chargers, right? So, and if I didn't say the Panthers, right?
Panthers,
so
yeah.
those are 11 games. Against those games, and a lot of those are at home, right? Washington's at home, Denver's at home, et cetera. You got the Raiders coming here. Out of those games, if you go 8-3, and I don't think that's unreasonable, right? I don't think that's unreasonable with the names I just rattled off.
No,
for this team to go 8-3, that means splitting against maybe the Falcons, splitting against the Saints, and then losing, one of those other games, right? That's 8-3. Then you look at the other games against the teams that made the playoffs: the Lions, the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Chiefs, the 49ers, and the Ravens, right? Those are the other games. And if you can win 2 of those games, right? I think the number 6.
Mm-hmm.
If you can win 2 out of those 6, right? Just
That's
2.
10.
That's 10 wins.
10 wins.
So to me, it's not out of the question for this team to win 10 wins or more, because I think with this roster, if they stay healthy, I think they can go, they can win 3 out of those 6 games instead of 2, right? Out of those challenges. And we're talking about 4 of the top teams last year: Chiefs, 49ers, Ravens, and Lions, right? So if they win 1 out of those 4, and then they win 2 more out of Cowboys, which I think that's doable, Eagles, that's doable as well. I can see this team maybe getting to 11 wins, but I think 10 is the floor, to be honest.
Yeah,
Now, I'm not saying 13. That's a little lofty. It's kind of a tight window, but I think somewhere between 10 and 12, depending on how healthy this team is and the way the ball bounces, it's not out of the question. I think 10 wins should be the expectation, because we've seen this Todd Bowles team level up from 8 wins to 9 wins, and really 10 wins when you count that playoff win against the Eagles. So I think the expectation is 10 wins, get to the playoffs, go further than you did last year. So probably, either hosting the wild card or on the road as a wild card, getting another wild card win, right? Another win in the first round. Now you're at 11 wins for your season. And then what can you do in that next playoff game against whoever? Is it going to be on the road? Is it going to be at home? But what can you win that NFC divisional game and get to the NFC championship game? I think that is the path that this team is on. That should be the expectation: 10 wins in the regular season and at least 1 playoff win. I've always looked at from the start of the playoffs last year, the 2025 season is the year of the Buccaneers. That should be the year, because you've got guys like Kalijah Kancey and Zion McCollum and Yaya Diaby and Rashad White. Those guys should be leveled up now, right?
Yeah.
Rookies like Graham Barton should be leveled up.
Yep.
Jalen McMillan, Chris Braswell, Tyke Smith, they should be leveled up. So you only have really Chris Godwin as the lone free agent, and you're going to have a ton of cap room to be able to go out and spend money.
And another draft class.
Kicking
ass.
Exactly. So I think this is last year was a step for this team. I think this is another step this year, and I think the leap happens in 2025 for the Buccaneers.
And I'll tell you this too: December 22nd, Sunday Night Football, prime time, Buccaneers at Cowboys. Go ahead and chalk that up as a Bucs win, and let me tell you why. The Cowboys have always looked ahead, right? It's a team that always looks ahead, past opponents. The week before that, they play Carolina at Carolina. Okay, they're probably going to win that.
Yep.
But the 2 games after the Bucs game that you have left on the regular season schedule are Washington and Philadelphia. 2 teams they're going to be fighting for fighting for the NFC East for.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
they're going to overlook the Bucs a little bit, and the Bucs are better than most people think. All right, Atlanta's improved, but how are the Bucs not the favorite to win the South again? I have no idea.
I agree.
So go ahead and chalk that game up Sunday Night Football, because it's a very Cowboys thing to do. Lose on Sunday Night Football against the Bucs when you just beat the Panthers.
All right, but then I'm going to go 11 wins. I'm going to go 11 wins now, based on that information.
11 wins is not out of the equation. I think it's between 10 and 12.
That wins the division. Come on, that wins the division.
Yeah.
11 wins.
It does.
9 wins is going to win the South. I'm telling you.
Again? No, I think it's going to take at least 10
I think
this
it'll
year,
take 10 this
maybe
year.
11.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll
Maybe
win 10 or 11, but Atlanta's not winning more than 8. I'm telling you.
Okay. All right. Well, Scotty, tell everybody what's coming up on Pewter Report this week, my friend.
Got another Pewter Report podcast today at 4 o'clock on Pewter Report TV. Matter of fact, we've got a couple more podcasts today, tomorrow, and Thursdays. We round out the week, head into the weekend. So you can follow all of the roster cut news and analysis on pewterreport.com, our website, and make sure you follow us on social media on X, Instagram, Facebook, and X, like I said, at Pewter Report.
All right. Thank you, Scotty. My apologies for
Appreciate
running
it.
over my passion for my loser FSU football team. And
Hey,
got
at
the
least you
best
drank a
team.
bunch of Guinness. Tell me you
Oh,
drank some
just
Guinness.
Listen to my voice. Oh, my God.
Okay,
You
good.
know, split the G every time.
Well, you know where I'm going to be next year? I'm
Where's that?
going to be in Dublin, Ireland, for the same game that you saw.
Oh,
just different
K-State
opponents.
and Iowa State?
Kansas, yeah, Farmageddon. We're bringing Farmageddon from the Midwest to sunny
I'm
Ireland.
going to coattail with Anthony Beck then. I'll let him shove me in one of his
Yeah.
suitcases because, you
Yeah.
know, him and well, I think Rocco's got to stay one more year. I don't think this might be his third year in college.
Well, he's starting again this year.
Yeah.
I know that because I coached him at Pop Warner, and
Yeah.
he beat me in the season finale last year in a very snowy game.
Yeah.
Iowa State came in and ran roughshod over Kansas State, so a little bit of a revenge game.
You got to go. Yeah, you have to go, boss. It's the trip of a lifetime. It really is.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, and that stadium's really cool. Really,
Yeah.
really cool too. All
Look
right,
like it.
partner, we'll talk about that. We'll get
Yep.
you ready for that. Thank you,
Tim,
Scotty.
JP, we'll
Appreciate
see you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you, man.
That's going to be a great annual thing. It really should be. I mean, they did a hell of a job with that. They did the host Aer Lingus. They did lots of activities, lots of different things going on. They had their own app to tell you what was happening and where it was happening, click everything, how transportation, everything. I mean, nothing was left to chance. It was really, really well done, well organized, well done. Great stadium, very easy in and out. Good transportation to the stadium. Everything is perfect. If that's a big game, that's a great big game city right there. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a quick break.
What time is TJ coming on so we don't have a repeat here?
11:30.
Okay, gotcha.
So comments next. If you want to comment on what I think Scott said or our elongated soliloquy on the FSU in Dublin, please put them in the comments. We'll get to all of them next. We're brought to you by the great folks at the Jeeves Law Group. Big thanks to Scott Jeeves who made the trip with me. And how many times did we hear, what the hell are you doing here, you gator? And then I'm getting crap because I brought a gator to the game, and that's why we lost.
Wearing his Gator shirt, by the way.
Not to the game. We would not allow that. But we thank them for sponsoring the trip and sponsoring this wholly mediocre show. It's the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. And trust me, he is an aggressive person, not just an aggressive attorney. I don't know where I have to wait in any line because he just goes right to the front. The Jeeves
kind of guy I want as my attorney right there.
It's like you have a problem, sue me. The Jeeves Law Group, JEVS lawgroup.com. Non-attorney spokesman offices in St. Pete and Tampa. Back in 3. Discover a world of elegance and sophistication at the Gold and Diamond Source. Whether you're searching for your first piece or celebrating a special milestone, their expert team is here to guide you every step of the way. Navigating the world of fine jewelry can be overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. Their knowledgeable staff is dedicated to helping you choose the perfect piece, ensuring you feel confident and informed. At the Gold and Diamond Source, they pride themselves on offering only the highest quality jewelry. From stunning engagement rings to timeless watches, each piece is crafted with precision and care. So take advantage of their 5 years interest-free financing. This means you can get a $5,000 piece and only pay $83 a month. And if you're new to buying diamonds, their first-time buyer program will educate you on the 4 C's, cut, color, clarity, and carat, and help you understand the different shapes and sizes available. Go enjoy the great staff at the Gold and Diamond Source. You'll be family forever. It's the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
Hey Tampa Bay sports fans, this is two-time LPGA major champion Jane Geddes here. After winning the US Open and 10 other LPGA events, I wanted to try something completely different. So I came right off the top turnbuckle and landed in the crazy world of WWE. And yes, you heard that right. That's WWE. Working for the Vince McMahon as the VP of Talent Relations for the company. Now, though, I want to work for you. Everything I've done in my life, I've done with incredible passion. And now I've turned my focus to leading the best real estate team in Tampa Bay, the Gettys Gordon Group with Keller Williams in South Tampa. If you're looking for a new home, an investment property, or looking to sell your current home, we will give you major championship level service. When you choose Gettys Gordon Group, you become part of our inner circle, like family. So if you're looking for a few golf tips or a golf course view, we're going to stripe it right down the fairway. Call me at 813-485-6808 or go to gettysgordongroup.com, or again, give me a ring at 813-485-6808.
JP here for Third Generation AC and Plumbing. And Third Generation really says it all, folks. The owner, my friend John Rodriguez, has been in the AC and plumbing business since 1995. They built their business on honest assessments and doing great work on time for a great price. Simple, right? Did you know many AC techs are incentivized on big commissions to sell new AC units, and you might just need a drain cleared? So if you want someone you can trust, that's John Rodriguez and Third Generation Services. Check out the 5-star Google reviews. If you have a plumbing or AC emergency, call 813-961-8024 and a human will answer the phone. That's 813-961-8024 or go to thirdgenerationplumbing.com. As we head into summer and hurricane season, you must make sure that your home is fully insured. Over 40% of people in Florida are not fully insured because property rates have gone up lately. Your home is worth more, so it needs to be insured. Call the great folks at Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799 to make sure you're fully insured. And also, you might just save some money. There are new companies coming into the state all the time. In fact, we just shopped our homeowners insurance, and I'm telling you, folks, we saved over $550 because Charity, the great customer service at Italiano Insurance, did all the work and found us a better company and a cheaper company. She'll do the same for you. 813-877-7799. Do something about these high rates. Shop them around. Could save you lots of money. It's Italiano Insurance. Been doing business here locally for over 60 years. 813-877-7799. Tell them JP sent you.
Ciao, Paolo Tini here, owner of Caffè Paradiso, one of South Tampa premier traditional Italian restaurant. We were recently voted number 3 on Open Table list of Tampa Bay's top 10 restaurants. We're very proud of that because we take great care of preparing each dish by hand with homemade sauces, pastas, only the freshest local ingredients. You won't see the big institutional vendor trucks pulling up to our back door. We get our seafood from local vendors. Sometimes I even drive out to Topper Springs and pick out our daily catch right off those boats. So stop by and say hello. Try our traditional lasagna, the fresh veal, some of our signature dishes like capelli al granchio, that is angel hair with lump crab meat, our branzino, that is a sea bass. We're located at 4205 South McDill, and you can make a reservation on Open Table and read all the great reviews. See you soon. Ciao. Grazie.
Let's go! Right now. Back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the great folks at Italiano Insurance. Saw Jeff Italiano and Nat Italiano over in Dublin, big FSU fans, thanking me for sending them all their customers. And I'm like, thank you for supporting the show for probably 13, 14 years they've been supporting us. So really appreciate all their support and so many people that come up to me and go, Italiano, save me this. They save me this. They save me that. They save you money by doing all the work, because when you shop around all the different companies, you're going to find better prices. So if you're just calling a 1-800 number, you're talking to one company, that's all you get. So let them do the shopping. You do the saving. 813-877-7799. All right, let's get to some of the comments, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right. Do we have the comment music?
We do.
All right. There's John Hill talking about his Iowa State Cyclones. You going to Dublin, John Hill? You missed this one. You better go to that one. James says, my only concern I have with D is Zion making the transition to starter. If he holds up, this team could be a deep playoff team. I'm more worried about Jamel Dean.
Yeah, Zion's not a concern of mine so much.
I mean, I'm worried about both. I'd say my biggest concern on the defense is how the corner play in one-on-one situations stacks up in certain situations against some of these. We faced a lot of good receivers in this league. Christopher Cole surprised they kept 4 tight ends.
It's kind of this offense, though, right?
No, it's special teams. Cokeefe is not going to be used in this offense.
Yeah, he's going to be a special teamer.
He's the 4 tight end, but he's more special teams guy. That's what it's not a third in terms of the snaps. It's 13 to 16 snaps a game, depending on how it goes.
Right.
But those can be make or break snaps. And if the guy's playing on every team, punt, return, kickoff, kick, return, if he's doing it all, then they're valuable guys.
Yeah.
Cam is a bigger version of AB, not that much bigger, but I'm just interesting to see how they're going to use him. How many touches is the guy going to get? Unless somebody gets hurt, I don't see him getting a lot of touches, but he's electric. You want to get him touches somehow, some way, but where are you going to steal him from? James says, that's why I see 12 wins. This team is tight, great culture. When undrafted free agents make the team and make impact, it's incredible. We'll see. We shall see. James says, Cam Johnson's so impressive, a Division III undrafted free agent, and this kid is going to be a star down the road if he gets a chance. He's got to get some I think he's going to have to come in and be able to fill in the starting role for a couple. To listen, Mike and Chris have been unusually healthy. Obviously Chris with the knee injury, but outside of that, they don't miss many games. They don't go down because of nicks and scrapes. So it's gonna be a challenge for him to get any touches in this offense. Harvey Rao says 10 mil a year. Yeah, for Devin White. He was actually asking for that. Delusional. Yep, him and Byron. Though
he got like 7, right?
He got 4.
Was it just 4?
For 1 year, $4 million plus incentives in Philadelphia.
Oh, okay, that's what I was. Probably
but
that's the 7.
He was that $10 million was part of a $100 million.
Right.
Like he thought he was getting long-term $70 million guaranteed. Like been hanging out with our boy Randy Gregory. JP,
it's worth up to $7.5 million is what it is.
Yeah. James says the Knowles started rotating O-line after the first drive makes 0 sense. Also, Georgia Tech stacked the box and blitzed the Knowles, kept running. You can only block guy. Coaching lost this game. I don't like substituting on the offensive line liberally. I think that's dumb. It's one of those units that needs to learn how to play with each other. Defensive line, yes, but not offensive line. I think you stick with your starters. This is NIL again, kids. This is transfer portal. If you got all these good offensive linemen that can play just about anywhere, we're told, and you got to keep them all happy. You got to give them playing time. You think, but I don't. Not a big fan of that. I don't like rotating offensive linemen. It's just because one guy misses a block, the play's dead. Play's dead, and you trying to get that continuity working together. I just don't think that's a great idea. But I understand why they want to do it. I do understand it. I would, what I would kind of do is just spot play guys. Have a core of guys and just every 5 series maybe give the backup a shot with the other 4 starters.
Right.
And so rotate it like that. But for the most part, keep most of your guys in there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Even the ones going pro because it's about pride of your school. Oh, Jordan, I should get this whole thought in here. My bad, Jordan. Sorry. So the football argument is that the playoffs quit on the coach and the entire team. The quitting is worse than the loss itself. Oh, come on, dude.
Huh.
I'll read it. I talk about FSU, UGA. UGA played their starters even though the game didn't matter when they got left out because they didn't quit on Smart. Oh, my God, bro. Even the ones going pro because it's probably – it's completely different scenario. Jordan, what you're not understanding is this. It wasn't just because the game was meaningless. It's because who did it to them. You guys don't understand the ESPN part of this. Is they know damn well ESPN F them. It was a complete political hit job. It was not just one of these normal, okay, we didn't make the playoff things because of Jordan Travis. No. That's not what happened. And the players know it. The coaches know it. And they're not going to go out there and put their ass on the line for ESPN to make more money. That's why they didn't play. And you need to understand that because that's a fact. That's a fact. I've heard it from the kids on the program. Everybody was pissed off about it, and that's why they didn't do it. And that's why Norvell wanted to go to the players and say, "Hey, listen, let's just go out and show them. Let's go out and show them, guys."
Right.
And no, it was a completely different dynamic. And Georgia has been to the playoffs. They've got their due. They've done all those things. I completely disagree with you, Jordan. It wasn't about they quit on Mike Norvell. That's a bunch of horseshit. Sorry, bro. That's not what happened. They got screwed. They knew it, and they were not going to play another game so ESPN could make money. That's what happened. And if you don't think that team was together and playing as a family all year long, they could listen. That team completely overachieved last year. There was nobody picking them to go 13-0. And they did everything they had to do, and they busted their ass, and they won 2 games without a quarterback, all defensively. And they did everything they were supposed to do, and then they got screwed. It's a completely different dynamic. You can agree or you can disagree, but those are the facts. Those are the facts. It's completely different for those two teams. Sorry. And by the way, not every one of the Georgia players played. If I'm not mistaken, there were some opt-outs.
Yeah,
not a lot, but some. So, no.
Marvin Harrison didn't play, did he?
I don't think he did.
He was out.
No, too busy with cooking up his legal scheme against Fanatics with his dad.
Yeah, by the way, his dad's now in on the loss. They're suing him too.
Christopher Cole says, no wonder, Tim, redheads are wild and feisty.
Yes, they are, brother. That's why I've been married to 3 of them.
Oh.
Not at the same time.
Just wish Knowles could have won to at least shut Feinbaum up. No such luck, said Jay. I know. I thought about that on the long walk home. Mark Rogers said, tough loss. I'm still in Dublin. Well, he's still in Dublin, drowning your sorrows.
Probably stuck, yeah.
Good
Don't
idea.
let him on the plane yet.
No, a lot of people stayed late, I wish, I did a lot of things we couldn't elongate the trip, but I would have wanted to elongate the trip just to go see some other stuff because we were kind of moving around a lot, so we didn't get to really do that. Jordan G said it made it out to Dodger Stadium. Watch our beloved Rays on Sunday afternoon. What an interesting crowd of fans they have. Needless to say, the expected Rays blew it in the 8th. Yeah. What a
I
place.
watched that game,
right,
actually.
Jordan?
Watched that whole dumb game yesterday.
Yeah. That's such a beautiful. That's the first baseball stadium I went to. My dad took me to Dodger Stadium. Yeah.
God, it's
when
still
our first
gorgeous,
major league
man.
game I was like 15 years old, and that was my first major league game. We sat up in the upper deck and ate like 17 Dodger dogs. It's fantastic.
They're almost 60 years old, and it's still one of the prettiest stadiums in the freaking league.
Chavez Ravine, beautiful venue, absolutely wonderful. It helps when it's 72 and sunny every day.
Every freaking game, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful. Patrick says yes. Patrick Ryan McDonald says, Old Head, my favorite course of all time, is absolutely. If you've not played the Old Head of Kinsale, folks, put it on your bucket list. If you're
is it in the United States?
No, it's in Kinsale in Ireland.
I'm probably not going to play it then.
Look it up on the web and
look
at those spectacular golf holes. It's unbelievable. James said you waited too long on going to Paris, Tim. It's like San Francisco now. Save your money. True
I don't
statement.
like San Francisco either.
No, he's right. They did a good job of cleaning it up during the Olympics, but it's nothing special. Corey says we are soft in the trenches, soft at linebacker. DJ did enough to win. Bump that. Yeah, I think that's true. I would agree with that. I would agree. DJ did enough, but it was too late, to go to him, late in the second half to finally let him throw it down the field only when you had to. Corey also says we got whipped. It's on Norvell. We was gassed up about this team that was more worried about NIL than working on football. I think you're right. I think we all got gassed up on this team until they do something. You just don't know. You just don't know.
Yeah.
Georgia sees it, and because you have 140 left, not bled down to 105. Idiotic. Regardless, you have to use all 3 timeouts. Use them as early as you can. I totally agree. Totally mismanaged at the end of the game. Marvin Jones Jr. What a soft player. Georgia, I'm sure, not sad he's gone. Hate to say that about his dad was anything but that, but that's true. All right, thanks for the comments, guys. Appreciate that. Our good friend TJ Reeves joins us now, Bucs sideline guy. What's up, TJ? How are you?
Always great to be with you, and I'm glad for proof of life back from Dublin, Ireland for you, my friend.
Yeah, smooth trip. Smooth trip. Really was.
I enjoyed vicariously watching the shows like Timmy was talking about. I caught the first segment of the show. I was making sure that you weren't in like a black armband or had the black sunglasses on or whatever. I'm glad that you're good. But we were living vicariously from you and many others that were at the pubs and at the game and all the. And I have to say this. I know it stinks in those situations when you don't win, but you're going to remember that. Your kids are going to remember that, and everybody else that went there is going to remember that forever. That you got to go be part of that and go do all of that. And so I relate it to we got to go to London over and over again with the Buccaneers and could never win the game. And you'd have a blast going and doing and seeing, and then the game would turn out So I did that like 3 times, and we finally went to Germany. Who knew you had to get out of England? That we had to go to Germany to get a win with some guy named Tom Brady helping the Bucs beat the Seahawks a couple of years ago. So that's the only positive European experience that I've had out of 4 of them, as a matter of fact, so far. So I can empathize with you on that part. But listen, good to be with you, whatever avenue you want to travel, college football, Buccaneers, whatever it is. Timmy, always good to be with you, brother. I need a take on A&M and Notre Dame before we're done as well. Mr. Aggie there. All right, so whatever way you want to go, JP.
I want to start with college football.
Yes.
Because I want to start ACC football. Because, boys, I have an ACC team in Dallas now.
You do.
I know.
You do.
The SMU Mustangs had to come from behind to beat the Wolfpack, the Nevada Wolfpack.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched part of this game. You know, I'm kind of an SMU supporter. I considered going there until they wanted 80 times more than what I was going to have to pay to go to A&M. And I couldn't walk on the football team because I was 140 pounds in high school. But so, especially their first year in the ACC, I mean, what are the expectations for SMU? I mean, not big, right?
Nobody knows what to make of this season any which direction. And I'm not trying to deflect off your specific question, but you've got Stanford and Cal and SMU playing programs that they are unfamiliar with and that are unfamiliar with them. Does anybody know what to make? I mean, Stanford's going to play TCU on Friday night. Am I correct? Cal comes to Tallahassee, I think, to play Florida State. Nobody knows what to make of any of this, Tim, JP. Nobody.
And Oregon's the pick to win the Big Ten.
Right.
Oregon's going to win the Big Yeah.
Wow.
And by the way, and in my world, I'll tell you about it a little later. I'm in the Big 12 world now as well. That's added Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and Arizona State. What do West Virginia and UCF and TCU and Iowa State and Kansas State know about Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and Arizona State as conference games? This is the new landscape of college football. We're going to have USC in a couple of weeks play Michigan in the Coliseum in a Big Ten game. This is the bizarre world we're living in. But back to Southern Methodist, SMU, the Ponies, they're kind of the interesting one because they're sitting in the middle of the country going, it's a long way to get east to play Miami, Wake Forest, or Boston College. And oh, by the way, it's a long way to get west to go play Stanford or Cal. And it's odd. It's just an odd situation in the ACC for the Mustang. How do you recruit? I don't know, what your what your leverage point is there. Hey, we're going to go out to wine country and play Cal. Yeah. I don't know how that works, guys.
Well, I was watching a little bit of Game Day. They kind of went through all the changes for college football, and it's mind numbing. Not only are we dealing with conferences that make no geographic sense whatsoever anymore, it's so much like the NFL, and now we have a 12-team playoff, which looks oddly like the NFL. The players are being paid now.
Yes,
it's the NFL, and that's what it is. It's just that I hope the collegiateness is not taken away, but we're one game. We're not even to week 1. We're in week 0, and I'm out there on Twitter going, boy, sure look like Florida State players. We need a refund on our NIL, and they're playing for money. They look like they're playing for money while Georgia Tech was playing for something bigger. And I believe that. I really do. I think welcome to the world of college football now, where the innocence has kind of been taken away. I hate to say it, but
I know.
Nobody wants to believe that. We really don't want to talk about it, but as we're dipping our toe into this new water, it ain't all the old college football anymore, my friend.
I mean, like, for example, in your region, Timmy, we got Oklahoma and Texas now in the SEC. So Oklahoma will play Temple Friday night. They then play Houston in a non-conference game that means something. They then play Tulane. Then they get into the SEC schedule. And yes, they play Tennessee in their first ever SEC game at home. They play Auburn at Auburn. They play the Texas game. But Oklahoma's playing South Carolina in a conference game. Oklahoma's playing Missouri. Okay, that's an old Big 8. Oklahoma's playing Ole Miss. We got to get used to this.
Have they ever met before ever? Maybe in a bowl game somewhere?
Maybe. But, I mean, you got to get used to South Carolina and Ole Miss and Vanderbilt and Florida, and these are now conference games for the Sooners or for the Longhorns.
Yeah, it's funny that you say Oklahoma versus Missouri is an SEC game.
Yes. It's very weird. All of it is going to be weird.
But the dynamic also that's, we'll make it used to that. But the whole fact that these guys are getting paid now.
Yes.
And as fans, we're all taking the cheap shots of, we need our money back and blah, 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 blah. But also you say, I wonder how much that's in their thought process. How does it affect how they play? Because I did see an FSU team that had zero passion, zero emotion in the game. They just didn't seem like for a team that had been so wronged, and Paul Feinbaum rubbing salt in the wound, I didn't see them play like that. I didn't see them play like.
Do you blame that more on them? You used the word mercenaries in your opening segment about, hey, this is the best that they could do to go in the transfer portal, NIL, or whatever. Or does a lot of the blame go on Mike Norvell and his staff not having them as ready to go as they needed to be, especially as the second quarter became the second half and became the fourth quarter and got them rolling?
It just. I don't know. I have a lot of trust in Norvell, but I said this. I don't know if you heard this, but the lads were out on the streets of Dublin at 10:00 on Friday night. Now, I'm not saying
I didn't hear you say that, and that explains some things there. At that point.
I'm not saying that they were nobody.
That doesn't scream focused. That doesn't scream ready.
They were not doing a jig in the pub with a Guinness in their hand. That's not what I'm saying. That was not happening for them. For us, yes. But not for them. But they were out. I'm like, what? And they got there on Thursday. Does that surprise you?
Yeah, that's kind of it. And that's what NFL teams do actually Thursday for the Sunday game. So that was a little late.
Game.
Yeah, that was a little
Thursday for a Saturday game.
That's kind of interesting on trying to get acclimated and all of that. But look, I mean, their season is not over.
Maybe that's why they were out on Friday.
I'm spinning some optimism for my man JP. The season is not over for them. There's a lot that's going to happen in the first couple of weeks that are going to jumble things. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with Georgia and Clemson while we bring that back to the ACC. Right. And if Georgia thumps them, if Georgia clobbers them, then the Dabo Sweeney stuff all starts up again. Right off the bat in the first game of the season. So it's going to be fascinating there. And, all these other interesting first game matchups. Miami and Florida right here in our state. LSU is out in Vegas playing Southern Cal without Caleb Williams. And then we'll eventually get to Notre Dame and A&M a little more. But the Miami-Florida game is interesting because Billy Napier and Mario Cristobal both desperately need that game. And most of the fan bases of both of those teams almost want their guy to lose. Am I wrong about that? They almost want them to start off with the bad start to grease the skids a little bit.
I don't think Miami fans are quite, but they're completely delusional. And Cristobal is one of them. So I think it's a little different.
Well, as bad as you're feeling about how you lost to Georgia Tech, look at how Miami lost to Georgia Tech last year. Epic meltdown, vapor lock moment that screams again. Does he know what he's doing in big games like this? And right now, the jury is out on him not knowing what he's doing in big games.
That's why I think Florida has a fighting chance. I think, Cristobal doesn't know how to manage games. but they're infinitely more talented. Well, I shouldn't say infinitely more talented. They've got more seasoned players, I think, than Florida does at a lot of different spots. I'm really interested to see how that game's going to go down. Miami and Florida. If that's a 3:30 Saturday game, there's a lot of good games in Week 1 that I'm very much looking forward to.
Timmy, give us the quick take. Aggies at home. Mike Elko, new regime. A lot of expectation for Notre Dame. By the way, you look at Notre Dame's schedule after this A&M game. They are easily 5-0 playing Georgia Tech and maybe 6-0 if they beat Georgia Tech. So we're going to hear nonstop from the Notre Dame honks every which direction in the Northeast and the Upper Midwest if they win this game. But Timmy, give me the quick take about them at A&M.
Notre Dame is clearly, as much as I hate Notre Dame. By the way, been watching Manti Te'o, speaking of Notre Dame, on Good Morning Football all morning.
Right.
For some weird reason.
In his Notre Dame stuff. He's
wearing Notre Dame hockey sweater is what he's wearing today on the show.
But that guy is, he'll only be known for one thing.
Right. That's the first thing I still think of is the pretend girlfriend. And I've had lots of pretend girlfriends in my life, so I know a lot about that. But look, Notre Dame.
I love this digression. This is fascinating. We can go down this road.
Look, it's my job to pull the wheel into the ditch. Okay, it's y'all's job to pull it back out.
We'll pull it back out, but bring it back to the Irish with Riley Leonard now, the former Duke quarterback who helped Elko.
Yep.
Riley Leonard's now at Notre Dame,
and Riley Leonard is maybe the best quarterback Notre Dame has had in 10 years.
He's really good.
He is really good. I wish he would have come with Elko. And look, nothing wrong with Connor Weigman. I love Connor Weigman. I would have liked a little competition, though, in the Aggies spring camp. But look, Notre Dame's a better team. There's very little question about it. Mike Elko has changed the culture in College Station, and trust me, it needed to be changed. Jimbo sent that freaking program 10 feet underground. And Elko's who also worked, by the way, for Jimbo Fisher. Don't forget, he was Fisher's defensive coordinator at A&M for 2 years after he got there, before he went to Duke. So he's familiar with the Aggie land and the culture and all of that, which is great. We count him as one of our own. But until I can see that culture change on the field, I can't pick the Aggies to beat a team like Notre Dame.
How big of an equalizer is Kyle Field? And the 12th man and 100,000 going nuts. How big of an equalizer will that be in your opinion?
There's going to be 110,000 people at Kyle Field. I wish I could be one of them. I can't make it down, though, because I got other stuff to do that week. But it is the great equalizer. Like, just ask Alabama. All right? Yeah. It is the great equalizer. And if there's a chance the Aggies can hang close early, and Notre Dame becomes Notre Dame, because I'm not a freaking believer in their coach. Ty Willingham?
Ty Willingham was the coach. Marcus Freeman is now.
Marcus Freeman. Yes. Sorry, Marcus Freeman, the Ohio State guy. Yeah, who's an Ohio State guy, weirdly enough. Marcus Freeman. Not a believer in him as a coach. But, again, I got to see the Aggies do this on the field before I can start picking them against teams like Notre Dame.
Did you see the note?
That said, gig 'em Aggies.
Gig 'em. Did you see the note that Marcus Freeman is doing some intel on Texas A&M playing the new college football 25 game for EA Sports with his son on the video game? They are literally scouting A&M with the that's tremendous.
How scary is that?
Get a little father-son time in and scout the Aggies at the same time. Dual purpose. I thought I would share that. On
is the game that realistic? Is it that realistic that's possible to do?
Hey, Madden was the only one other than maybe our show that predicted Baker Mayfield was going to throw for 4,000 yards and 28 touchdowns.
They had it right on the rankings.
They had it damn right. They had it right on it, and everybody.
So that's interesting. So that's the primetime game on Saturday night that'll be on ABC. What else? Notre Dame, and it should get some heavy audience. By the way, did you see the Florida State game? Not surprisingly, as the big standalone in Ireland got a 5 million average audience. That rating is out this afternoon. That's the largest audience any Week 0 game has ever gotten, with ESPN hyping it up. We'll see. And then
FSU's media rights are worth $100 million.
Well, there you go. And then Sunday night, you get Southern Cal and LSU, where Lincoln Riley has already got questions about him. Caleb Williams. LSU is always talented. I worked the ReliaQuest Bowl last year for LSU's win over Wisconsin, and Garrett Nussmeier was phenomenal in that game, throwing the football as a fifth-year player here. He's the quarterback for LSU. That'll be fascinating Sunday night. So a great college football weekend. Tons.
And by the way, for those of you on the edge of your seat, about what I said earlier. Ole Miss is 1-0 against Oklahoma in their history with a win in the Independence Bowl in 1999, 27-25. It was David Cutcliffe over Bob Stoops.
How about that?
Who could forget that?
Timmy with the nuggets here on get used to your rivalries. I mean, this is going to be maddening. Just wait until like UCLA is playing Rutgers and trying to figure all this crap out. Cal playing at Tallahassee, Stanford playing Wake Forest if they do. We got to get used to
SMU, and
it's all jumbled. You know, we got a Nebraska-Washington game that's a Big Ten game if they play. Go figure with college football.
What I want to know from you, Reeves.
Yeah,
is when Vita Vea took that Miami Dolphins center and like put him up in like the fourth row.
He pushed him back to Dade County. Yeah,
that was so awesome, man. I watched that over and over again.
That poor fella. Like like when you're watching film with your team in your room, it's like you're counting he's like, oh God, it's the next play.
Yeah, here it comes.
That play.
Did he get cut? Do we know if he got cut yet?
The coach runs the play, and there's just like there's silence in the room. It's just like, and he runs it back like 3 times. It's like he's not even saying anything. He's just like, click.
Yeah.
And you're just, and then there's probably in the back of the room. It's like,
yeah, I saw him. I saw him right in front of me. Let's go next level on the film. I saw him right in front of me. My hand placement was good, and I kept seeing him, and I kept backing up, and then I saw the sky.
I don't think I've ever seen that in the NFL.
But look, Vita's a tremendous, as we segue to the old BUCCANEERS, go Bucks. Vita is a great defensive stalwart in the middle and has been since the Super Bowl year. And I mean, that's a Washington pipeline while we're on the subject right now, with it looking like Jalen McMillan was absolutely going to make the team, but it looks like Devin Culp, the tight end, has made the team to go along with Cade Otton previously, Joe Tryon, Shoyinka. Who knew Seattle to Tampa pipeline right now, Washington Huskies to Buccaneers for contributors. So,
but that defensive line looked a lot better the other night. Give me what you thought of the starters that you saw.
Again, it was brief. It's the Dolphins backups. You got to get Yaya Diaby healthy, but with Cansey and Vea pushing in the middle, if they stay healthy, from our lips to the football god's ears, keep those two guys healthy, Vea and Cansey in the middle, they're going to be disruptive. There's no doubt. I think it's fascinating right now. I see the reporting that's out there on how many pass rushers, how many outside linebacker pass rushers they're apparently ready to keep, because they're going to keep apparently both Marquise Watts and Jose Ramirez, the reserve pass rushers for Diaby, for Braswell, for JTS, Anthony Nelson. They're going to keep a lot of them. So depth there. Now we do need to qualify this. Just because you're seeing the final roster today, and JP, you know this, and Timmy, you know this, that does not mean that's the set 53 come next week and the Commanders. That's the set 53 now, and there still may be a move or two or more that the Buccaneers make where a guy that has made it for now isn't on the roster next week or even late next week because they decide to do something else with somebody else. This is just to get to the blur of last night and today of who has to go on the waiver wire and who is actually available that we might want. Like I've been engaging with somebody this morning going, I can't believe they're going to keep Keeft and not keep a fourth running back. And I said to this person, just be careful, because just because Keeft has made the team and he's a fun guy, he's a locker room guy, but he's probably not going to be on the field as a tight end. He would primarily, if he's active, be a special teams guy and a reserve. But just because that name is there right now doesn't mean they aren't thinking fourth running back. And maybe it's a running back on another team that's on the waiver wire that they're thinking that they want to try out. Or maybe they're going to elevate somebody off of their practice squad, which they're going to be allowed to do, to be the fourth running back on the active roster. So just stay tuned with that, with how many DBs they're allegedly going to keep, because there's some debate about how many DBs are they keeping. Just because you're on the roster later today, stay tuned on later this week and next week, now that you have a full another week.
Yeah, think about the number of guys each team is cutting.
Yeah.
Times 32.
It's
like a whole other
1,000
league
names
by numbers of people available that you can draw from.
1,000 names, literally, this afternoon that are on that waiver wire. And then everybody starts, making the move for their 15 practice squad spots.
Right.
On who are we bringing back on the practice squad, including guys from other teams.
Yeah.
So this is just a circus. It has been a circus for the last 24 hours and will continue on who do you part with and who else is out there available. And we'll see. I mean, for right now, somebody theoretically could pick up John Wolford if they wanted to, if he's on the waiver wire. And then what do the Bucs do for a third quarterback? It's not likely. Right. But they have exposed him on the waiver wire.
And most of these guys, the bigger question is, can we get them to the practice squad? Is anybody else going to pick them up? Cam Johnson is a guy, as a receiver, that may not be as polished as maybe Cody Thompson, but he's a guy, if you try to sneak him to the waiver wire, somebody else is going to pick him up.
Probably so.
I don't think anybody's picking up Cody Thompson. So sometimes it's just which guys you can get there and keep. Running backs are the same. Running backs are those down. Nobody's coming to get your running backs. Nobody's coming to get your sixth linebacker, I don't think.
Right.
So it depends on that.
It'll be fascinating.
And look at last night, late last night, the day before cuts are due, the Chiefs traded for a guy because they didn't think he was going to make the waiver wire after Arizona cut him, linebacker Cam Thomas. They traded a 7th-round pick for him because
they swapped spots with Arizona in the draft to get a player they wanted. And there was another player like that too. There was another trade, and it would not surprise me if in the next 4 hours somebody else does the same thing, where they are saying to a team, "Don't put him on the waiver wire. We want him. We want him on our 53, and we'll swap a draft slot with you to make that happen." So this. I mean, in the Buccaneers case, for Jason Light and John Spytek and Mike Greenberg and everybody that they have behind the scenes that are going through all of this, because you're not just looking at Buccaneer cuts, but you are projecting and you're reading social media and looking at what are the other teams' players that are out there, and are we interested in a couple of those guys to bring them in and see what they can do.
All right, TJ, my friend, thank you so much for your time as always. We look forward to chatting with you during the regular season as well. Football is on, and
always good to be with you boys and be hanging in. We'll be talking
sideline guy.
There we go. We'll have Bucs and Washington Commanders for next week. Now, I don't know that you've been keeping up with me, but I will show this to the audience. The Twins are now street legal with the licenses. And on Saturday, our donut tradition that I started when they were very little of going to have donuts with them, it continued with them going and getting the Saturday morning donuts for us by themselves. If I can find that photo. So the tradition with the Twins continues.
Now you don't have to leave the house. And
this is true.
Not that I ever used one of my children as a
you can use
driver.
them as the built-in Uber Eats. There with the Twins getting the donuts as I show the audience. First time driving last
Dunkin'
week.
Donuts too. Good call.
Had to go get the Dunkin' baby on that. So
now you can send them out for errands.
Whatever we got to do. And we're working on the 3 letters JOB, job, to help pay for the car insurance and the gas.
Yep.
So we're working on that as well.
By the way, I've got a hot sports take here related to that.
Blast.
Dunkin' Donuts.
Yes.
Way far superior to Krispy Kreme donuts.
Listen to that. Now, the Hot Fresh Now, people will fight you on the Hot Fresh Now glazed, but I'm a Dunkin' fan as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a Dunkin' fan as well. You guys be well. Whenever you need me, put the bat signal up. Good to talk college football, Buccaneers, and all else.
Appreciate you.
You boys behave. Glad you're back safely there, Mr. International Traveler, International Man of Mystery.
Glad
you're back.
Jet lag.
Back in. Jet lag is a real thing later today and tonight, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
You guys be well. Now. Good to be with you.
Thanks, TJ. Bye, TJ. Appreciate you.
Timmy, can we get one more break here before we get out of here? Quick break. Back in 3.5. Stay with us. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group and my man, Scott Jeeves. If you're going to hire an attorney, do you want some guy looking for a quick settlement and a quick buck, or do you want an attorney with some chops? Scott is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator. Been practicing in the Tampa Bay area for over 30 years. He is a peer-reviewed AV preeminent-rated civil trial lawyer. They just don't hand out those classifications. He's been the lead class action counsel on many complex consumer protection cases and has handled hundreds of serious personal injury cases. He's dedicated his career to protecting injured victims and is committed to vigorously representing you. We're local, we're trusted, and we get results. Personal injury and personal attention. Call for a free case evaluation. That's 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES. The Jeeves Law Group. Getting old is inevitable, but feeling and looking old is avoidable. If you're feeling run down, your workout sucks, or your sexual libido is not what it used to be, check out Bay Area Modern Medical Center. That happened to me a few years ago, and I found out I had the testosterone level of a second-grade girl. That's not good. Our food, environment, and stress can cause your T levels to drop. Bay Area Modern Medical Center can help, and they are different. They offer customized hormone replacement for both men and women. Christopher Lugo and his medical staff can help you restore your energy, your sex drive, and your feelings of well-being. It was a total game changer for me. I have way more energy, lost 30 pounds, and I'm performing better in all areas of my life. Nobody wants to talk about sexual health, but it's key to a balanced life. We offer discreet treatments with real-world results. So if you're suffering from a lack of interest in sex, ED, or lack of sexual stamina, Dr. Lugo and his staff can help. Take your health care to the next level at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. JP here to ask the question, are you planning an event, meeting, or conference? If so, you'll want to call the designers and production professionals at Extravaganza Productions Incorporated. With over 35 years of experience in the events industry, designing and producing every type of small to large event, they can provide a huge resource for design ideas, audio, visual, sound, lighting, decor, and entertainment to turn your event into an incredible experience for the entire audience. Folks, I've worked up close and personal with this group at many national events and Tampa events, and they have unique capabilities that help you save time and money in the planning and execution of your next event. Don't delay. Call these pros today at 813-621-4700 or check out their website at extravaganzaproductions.com. Tell them JP sent you, and they'll provide a free initial consultation for your event. Extravaganza Productions, the best of the business.
Take your business or nonprofit to the next level with the power of video. Red House Streaming offers complete field production services. Our experience and expertise has you covered every step of the way wherever you want to go. From initial concept to final delivery, we'll handle it all and bring your vision to life. As your all-in-one production partner, we offer comprehensive marketing packages that not only showcase your brand, but amplify your reach. Contact Red House Streaming today.
Hey, if you love golf and the new Top Tracer virtual golf experiences that have taken the golf world by storm, well, you're going to love the new Top Tracer range at Rogers Park in Tampa. It combines the fun of competing virtually on the world's greatest courses like Pebble Beach or St. Andrews with an outdoor range experience to track your ball, not just hitting it to that net. I love it. They have great brand new spacious covered bays, huge fans blowing down. It's very enjoyable even when it's hot. So grab your golf buddies. Great price, $25 an hour up to $45 at peak times. Balls are included, and you can also play the new short course for just $9. It's all at rogersparkgolf.net. To reserve a bay, go to rogersparkgolf.net. I'll see you there.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back. Brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. The great Chris Lugo over there will get your testosterone right, your nutrition right, get your personal plan for working out, all that stuff. They'll spend time with you like you won't get at other places. Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. And the great folks at Third Generation Plumbing and AC, John Rodriguez over there. If you have AC issues in this hot summer, you just want an honest tech showing up to do some honest work, right? You get that from Third Generation Plumbing and AC. Go to thirdgenerationplumbing.com to contact them through the website and tell them JP sent you. Well, the Connor Stalions Netflix documentary is out. A lot of people talking about it on social media. It's so interesting. The first two things that you see commenting, Danny Cannell said, I want to hear more details before really having a strong opinion on what Michigan did, but it's clear they clearly cheated. They have been blatantly lying about the extent of it. They deserve harsh punishment. The entire Harbaugh era at Michigan is tainted. And the next one I read is,
including the national championship.
That's right. Watch Connor Stalions Untold Sign Stealer. There are two main takeaways. One, Michigan is completely exonerated. Connor Stalions is brilliant. He's just smarter than anyone you have on your sideline. Of course, and then I go to his profile. His name is Ryan Emanuel, and it's like, oh, you work for a news company in Detroit, Fox 2 Detroit. Okay.
Yeah. Homer.
Shocking development. That's your take. But I'll be watching it later on today for sure. And we'll chat about it tomorrow. I looked at a lot of comments. It seems like he's denying he went to the Central Michigan with Michigan State game. That's the big one. Central Michigan, by the way, put out a statement saying we can't say anything now because the NCAA told us we can't.
Don't we have pictures of him there?
Yes.
We have video and pictures of him there.
Yeah, evidently he's showing the picture and goes, I don't even think this guy looks like me. So, I'll be interested to get your thoughts on Thursday or Friday when I see you again, Tim.
Definitely.
On this, so we'll watch that and get all the.
And I may have some practice squad talk that we didn't get to today that I had locked in the chamber here. Just
like
some interesting tidbits about the practice squad. Don't feel sorry for guys who don't make the roster but make the practice squad. That's all I'm saying.
They're still making money.
They're making a lot of money, JP.
I know. As they should. They should be.
I had no idea.
Should be extended. They really should. By the way, just a real quick one from Michael LaRue, who jumped in today. FSU linebacker coach Randy Shannon needs to go. Absolutely. Take your linebackers with him.
God,
that dude's been fired more places and rehired. My God, he's good on him, Randy Shannon. Always a great dude. You know, he's one of those guys that you could talk to him forever. Everybody loves him everywhere he goes. He just can't coach. He just can't coach.
It's the good old boy, my buddy system with the coaching staff in the NFL and in college football. Just anybody can get a job if you know somebody.
That's right. Absolutely. Everybody loves him, just can't coach.
Yep.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate Scott Reynolds and his patience for my overblown take on the FSU game. Apologize for that, Scotty, but thank you for jumping in. If you missed anything, it's always as a podcast, folks, on Apple and Spotify. Please like and subscribe on our YouTube page as well, and join my new Twitter at the JP Peterson Show. Thank you, Timmy. Appreciate you. We'll talk to you on Friday. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. It'll be Wednesday. Peter Blake will be joining me as well. See you then. Thank you.